Hello and welcome back to Propulsion Lab at the JCON. It was a lot of conferences in the last 2 weeks. But JCON Europe live from Cologne, Germany.
Definitely.
And my next guest is Simone de Gijt.
Almost.
De Gijt. De Gijt. But I can say.
Hey, there
right?
you go.
There you go.
Already,
That's something.
That's everything you need.
That counts for something. Simone, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
And so you mentioned something very interesting that your talk will be about learning environments,
Exactly.
and that's because of your background in linguistics before switching to IT.
Exactly.
I find those stories of like people bringing completely unrelated disciplines to IT very fascinating because it actually makes everything better.
Exactly. Diversity is key, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that and how we can improve our learning environments using your knowledge from linguistics.
Cool. Yeah. So it started, I guess, 10 years ago or something when I was indeed in college doing linguistics, and I love the whole theory on how your brain is working, right? Like the whole neurology behind it, like how languages are coming to be. However, it turns out I'm not a real therapist, so that was not really my cup of tea. So I was always missing like the concrete, like practical part more of it, and the more analytical part, I would say. So after my studies, I switched to IT, which I really enjoyed, and was doing that for quite a while. And then I noticed that I was unconsciously like putting into practice what I actually learned during my studies, because during my studies I was always teaching children but also adults to like learn new languages, and I could of course also anticipate that into my learnings while doing IT. So that was how it all started, I guess. And then I wanted to like participate in talks, and then you're looking like what makes me unique and what can I bring to the table. So
So I have a question that
Sure.
I bet you heard tons of times, but here's another one. One more time. So languages as spoken languages and languages as programming languages, are they really the same thing? They use the same word language, but are they really, if I'm good with one sort of languages, does it help me with the other sort of languages, this kind of stuff?
It's more on how you organize your long-term memory storage, so to say. So it's not literally the same thing, because we don't speak programming languages, right? We only write programming languages, but it has like certain like overlap in terms of syntax, like grammar that we have in spoken language. We also have grammar and syntaxes within software development, and the reading parts are of course like using the same processes in our brain, like visual, and then bringing that kind of to life with speaking it out loud in your mind, and then translating that to actual text, because that's how we read, right? But of course it has also a very big overlap with more analytical areas inside the brain and more mathematical. Like it's of course not exactly math, but it's more going to that area. So it's quite complex, to be honest. Like programming languages are involved in a lot of parts inside our brain.
It's cool. All right, so back to kind of the topic. So as a language therapist, someone who I saw a lot in my youth, so I can relate.
Oh, okay, great. Nice.
What can we learn from this area and make our lives or our careers as software engineers better?
Yeah. So there are a lot of things on which you can tweak, of course. Firstly, what I always like to say is what I learned during my studies is learn how, or look at how kids are learning by nature, because we don't teach children how to learn, right? They just kind of do. So what are the things that makes their learning process automatic, like trigger it automatically?
This is so cool. What is it?
So basically what it all starts with is the parroting, right? They are just repeating stuff that is happening around them. When a kid grows, like in the first year, it will produce sounds, and like then it goes to mama, daddy, like etc., etc. And it's just slowly like parroting what they are doing around them. And that's also what we do when we are adults and we are learning this stuff. Lots of times we are parroting, and we are parroting from Stack Overflow, ChatGPT nowadays, maybe your like senior colleagues.
But also fake it until you make it. That's that.
That's that. Kids do that as well, right? Yeah, definitely. And that's because like lots of time fake it until you make it has to do with the fact that our brain kind of wants to fill up all the gaps that it has. Our brain kind of is in deniance of like that it doesn't know everything. So it's always trying to fill in the best next thing if it doesn't know anything. So if you're not completely like sure of something, your brain will probably come up with like this, the next related thing. And that can sometimes be a little bit off, right? It can be just something different, which makes the conversation a little bit weird. But that's also why we need to be patient with our juniors, right? They are trying their best to fake it until they make it. And leading by example, I would say, because that's the parroting also, again, of course, they are looking at you for examples. So they will probably copy it, even if they're not aware of it. They are copying the people around them. So if you have a good like way of code reviewing, if you have a good way of interacting with other teams and like having that developer community, then that will probably be picked up by the junior and that he will thrive on that. He will like...
So let me ask you a question. I know that a lot of people don't really like working with children, right? I mean, it's hard.
Sure, yeah.
And some of it is just because children are not mature enough to be patient, to kind of, do what you tell them to do and all this kind of stuff. But I think it's also a lot because we don't have the patience for someone who is not in our level.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, this is what we call, I have a term for this.
Here you go.
The curse of expertise.
Okay,
It's called the curse of expertise. It's something I also talk about sometimes in my talks. It's when we kind of forget where we came from. We don't indeed we kind of forgot that. Do you know the term cognitive overload?
Yep.
So for the people that are not familiar with that, it's when you have a working memory, which is like this kind of processor in which you process information, but it's quite limited capacity-wise. So there's only so much you can think about at the same time. And when stuff is very new to you, then you get cognitive overload and you get a little bit like crash inside your brain. So juniors have that a lot of times because they haven't clustered and the information yet.
Yep.
But we kind of forget as seniors, or that tends to happen, and that's what you're, I think, talking about. You kind of forget that you were once in that place too, and you're just not getting why they don't get it. Like you explained it yesterday, right?
Exactly.
Why are they not picking it up? But that can very well be because the capacity was already full at the moment when you were telling them something new or learning them something new. So they didn't really have the chance to take that information in because it never was processed in the first place.
So what do we do? How can we help? How can we do better?
I would say for especially the seniors, I would say be aware of the cognitive overload, be aware of your position within the field. And I think where it comes in is that we need to see that we are also still developing, right? That it's not that after, I don't know, 5 years in the fields or 10 years in the fields, you're done. We're always going through that process. And that's also in my talk, how are we learning throughout our working job? Of course, it would be nice if you spend or you spend your time going to courses or maybe schedule in learning times for yourself, but you're also continuously working on the job and learning new stuff.
I'm learning new stuff right now.
Well, there you go. Nice. Yeah. So that's it's being together, community driven. That's all what's JCON about, right? Community driven. And I think that's where we want to go. I think we want to work together in a learning environment where we're all learning and learning from each other. And you will see that even if you're a senior, you will learn from that junior, because they will ask you the questions that make you think, oh, damn, yeah, I just do it because it works that way, but why does it work that way?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's brilliant. Yep. Simone, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for
It
having
was
me.
very interesting, very enlightening, and made me think. I hope folks that made you think as well. And for more interviews at Build Propulsion Lab, stay tuned. We have much more coming today and tomorrow, live from JCON at Cologne, Germany. Simone, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.